Hello, nerds! Thank you for joining me here on Nerd News Clips. This is the second channel. This is the place for all of the short-form content as well as the individual sections and just generally speaking smaller things. If you are into the longer form content, youtube.com/generallynerdy is the place to go see that. With that out of the way, let's get into this. We're getting into apparently big news time for music because it has been our largest section for 3 weeks now, I believe. So let's just do the music. First thing, we do have follow-up to get out of the way. This follow-up has to do with As I Lay Dying. We've talked a bunch about them recently. They lost Hippa as their guitar player. They lost their bass player, who's now playing with Spirit Box. I don't remember his name and I apologize. But now they've kind of sort of lost their drummer. They have recruited Nick Pierce, who used to be Unearth's drummer, I believe, and he is stepping in for their drummer. We touched on this briefly in the live episode last Friday, so that's partially why this is a follow-up, and this is an ongoing thing that we've been keeping tabs on because there seems to be a lot of internal struggle with the guys in As I Lay Dying. So the current drummer, though, is not quitting the band, apparently. Jordan Mancino said that he didn't want to play with the band until some of these internal issues had been taken care of. Didn't want to play live anyway. And it seems that those issues have not been taken care of, so he gracefully stepped aside for this tour and is not, again, officially quitting until, hopefully never, but until at least they make an attempt to deal with these issues. So just an interesting situation with a very controversial band these days, and we will definitely be keeping tabs on this, but let's move on. We are into the new music section of this episode. New music, we have first up, we're talking Living Wreckage. Now, this band is significant. The name of the song, before we get too far into it, is Endless War. This band is significant because it is kind of a mishmash of kind of new wave American heavy metal bands. We have Jeff Gard, who used to play in Death Ray Vision, guitarist John Denius, who plays for Anthrax, I think currently, but also plays for Shadows Fall when they're together, otherwise formerly of Shadows Fall. We also have Matt LeBrayton from Downpour on guitars. We have Matt Backend, I think is how you pronounce that, who is also of Shadows Fall. So we've got a lot of Shadows Fall in this. Act of Defiance, and drummer John Morenzi, who is from Let Us Pray. This song, I think, doesn't live up to the pedigree of the players involved. It is not a bad tune. It is actually rather well produced. Production side of it, no rock bass syndrome to speak of. Performance side of it, yes, there is a bit of rock bass syndrome, but I think that is, again, victim of the genre and not necessarily speaking ill of the bass player, because, man, I love Shadows Fall. I think, and I'm spacing his name, so I gotta consult the notes again one more time. I apologize. Matt, where is it? Matt Backend. I think he's a great bass player. I think the work that he's done with Shadows Fall is fantastic. But this is decidedly less technical than Shadows Fall, and why that is kind of up to anyone's guess, I believe, but still, vocally, there's some pretty big shoes to fill here with Brian Fair. This doesn't really follow in those footsteps. It's almost a little more in the power metal side of metal vocals, and slightly underwhelming. Like, it's a solid track. Again, I don't want to undersell it because it is definitely a solid track all the way around. Very solid players, very solid production, so on and so forth. So it's middle of the pack. This is evidence of, if you are a fan of the genre of metal, new wave American heavy metal as the subgenre, I would imagine. If you're a fan of that, then you'll probably dig this. If you're new to the genre, this is going to sound pretty average and bland to you. So take with that what you will. Then we have a new Ugly Kid Joe track. The name of this song is called That Ain't Livin'. I honestly thought Ugly Kid Joe broke up forever ago and were not coming back. So this is interesting. This is also news to me that this is definitely not the reunion record. They put out something else previously since they've broken up. The name of the record this is coming from, though, is Rad Wings of Destiny. It is set for release on October 1st. And someone said it in the comments of this video, man, Ugly Kid Joe just released the greatest AC/DC song of the year. This doesn't sound anything like I remember this band sounding. This is a lot less punk rocky and a lot more classic rock. Yeah, again, very eloquently put with comparing this to AC/DC, because this sounds like, this is to AC/DC what, let's say, Periphery is to Meshuggah. It sounds like they're writing the song that AC/DC would have thrown away. It's not bad. It's pretty solid all over, but again, very middle of the road, very underwhelming, nothing to write home about. So we're just gonna move right along. Then we have an Ace of Spades cover, and this one is significant because it has a whole laundry list of guest musicians and vocalists and such, but primarily it was put together by Phil Anselmo and some studio friends of his from various bands. This is, again, covering the Ace of Spades. This is a straight up cover. I mean, like I said, there's a couple of guest guitar players, there's 2 or 3 guest vocalists, and check out the link in the description if you're interested. It's a solid cover, but it's a great song, so it's kind of hard to screw this up. As long as you're playing it the way Lemmy and the guys in Motorhead played it, you're really not gonna go wrong. Is this a cover that we needed? Not necessarily. I feel like it's been done to death, but again, very well executed. Phil does pretty good on vocals. All of the guest vocalists do rather well as well. But again, not anything that isn't already on the original record, so no reason to not just listen to the Lemmy version. Like, you take other live versions of this where you have Dave Grohl playing with Lemmy. Dave Grohl's on drums. I don't remember who the guitar player is, but when they did it at the Golden God Awards, I believe, or maybe it was Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I can't remember. Pretty sure it was Golden God, though. They played it in record speed because the song generally is about 3.5 minutes long, when Grohl was on drums with Lemmy on bass and vocals, and then again, don't remember who the guitar player was. They played it something like 45 seconds faster, so it was sub 3 minutes in length, and without missing a note, they were just that much faster. That adds something to this, and also Lemmy's on it, but that changes the draw to that. If you vary up the style somehow, that changes the draw, that creates something new for this conversation. But if you're just doing a straight note for note, same pace kind of cover, granted the solos are different and whatever, but that's relatively minor in the scheme of things. Yeah, check it out because it's a great song, but this probably isn't going to be a revelation to anyone. And then our last piece of new music, actually, I am avoiding listening to because we're going to do a proper reaction for it for the main channel. It's Lamb of God's Nevermore. We talked about it in the last episode, in the last proper episode, as it was going to be released. Well, it has since been released. There's a proper video and everything for it, so we will be doing a reaction for that. That is also content that is going to be released as I take time off. I'm going to film a bunch of reactions and have those release over that time off. So this is one of those. All that being said, that is our new music section. So let's move right on into what normally would be regular news. We don't have any just plain old news in the music section, so we're talking tours. We just got the announcement that there's going to be another leg of the Slipknot Knotfest Roadshow. This version of the Roadshow is going to be later this year. It's going to be fall. It actually starts September 20th in Nashville, runs through October 7th in Irvine, California. And it's going to have on the bill with Slipknot, Ice Nine Kills and Crown the Empire. Ice Nine Kills, absolutely get that one. Totally makes sense. Crown The Empire. I saw those guys open up for Treyu, and I don't get it. It's a lot more 30 Seconds to Mars than it is Slipknot, or even nu metal, which is what a lot of people consider Slipknot these days. I don't personally. I think there's a little bit more nuance to their sound, but that's a whole different conversation. But apparently Crown the Empire, or metalcore even, the Crown the Empire is getting lumped in with metalcore, and I don't think that's an accurate subgenre for them, but they do sell a lot of records, so I guess it makes sense from a business standpoint, but yeah, very strange. Tickets are currently on sale, I'm pretty sure, if you follow the link down in the description. That is the only tour announcement that we have had in the last week that is worth talking about, so... Music suggestion for the week, we have Flyleaf's self-titled record. I don't know why I forgot about this record for so long, but honestly, when I first got it, it was on constant rotation for about 2 weeks. This is a solid record. This is probably the best thing that Flyleaf has ever released. Memento Mori was the record following that. After that, Lacey Sturm left and they got a new vocalist and kind of changed their sound because of that, and just were never the same. But this first album is phenomenal. Just musicianship-wise, production-wise, just all over this record is super solid. It gets very heavy as far as subject matter as well as the music goes. Definitely worth a listen. Flyleaf's first record is our suggestion for this week. Once again, this has been just a brief segment from the larger episode that has been posted over on the main channel, youtube.com/generallynerdy. Go over there for the long form content, or just subscribe here if you want it in bite-sized chunks. Thank you very much for joining me, nerds. We'll see you in the next one. Before we go though, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.